LPT, if you really need some peace and quiet, but seem to be unable to find it, go to your local library. Every time I go there are people using the free Wi-Fi to make loud phone calls. The last time I went to the library, there were two very pregnant women that looked about 17. They kept running around, yelling while talking to each other, laughing, taking phone calls on speakerphone for most of the time, while continuing to yell, and eating sandwiches and crackers, spilling everywhere and yelling with their mouths full. This lasted for the 2 hours I was there. This was in a busy library and they were the only ones making noise. It was impossible to focus. I wish someone who worked there would talk to them and ask them to quiet down. While this was the first time I had experienced this behavior by adults, it wasn't the first time I had experienced this behavior by children. However, I'm used to the loud calls by adults at the library. Almost every time I go to the library, there are multiple children screaming and running around, while their parents are nowhere to be seen, or just straight up ignoring them. No matter what, no one does anything about it. You could be the first one to do something about it. Stand up for what you feel is right, or just tell the librarian. Seriously. Yeah, those girls were being obnoxious, but the original commenter is an actual adult, I assume. So really they should be able to tell some underaged people to stop fucking around in the library in a nice way without having to wait to get the librarian involved. People shouldn't be afraid to stand up for themselves. Peace and quiet. I dare you to come to our library and find some peace and quiet. Let's just say, we have a huge children's section. Well, another person commented on going during the day when children are at school. I'm beginning to think I have the only quiet library in the US at this point. Nah man, I'm surprised at all the comments too. My library's been great. Public libraries where I live are basically homeless shelters. I 100% want people who are homeless to be helped out of homelessness. I don't care if my taxes go up or whatever. I want homeless people to use libraries if they need a library service. Googling stuff, printing stuff, reading books, finding somewhere quiet to work. I don't want homeless people taking up 70% of available seats so they can sleep. And honestly, I don't want them smelling up the library. I know it sounds a little heartless to be so blunt about it, but I can't use local libraries anymore. I have to drive to the suburbs or go to university libraries that I have access to with post-undergrad memberships to Wi-Fi and research docs. Wow man, I'm so sorry to hear this. I didn't realize this problem was prevalent in every comment I read in this thread. I agree. I want them to help, but you're right on the smell factor. I was sitting next to a homeless man the other day at Barnes & Noble. Wow. I have year-round allergies, have smoked my sense of smell away, and I could still catch his whiff. What bothered me the most surprisingly was not his stench, but that he was watching videos at full volume on his phone. Homeless PPL at my library watch porn loudly. I told the librarian, and she pretty much told me that's just what they do. I don't think librarians are paid enough to deal with the mentally ill. I don't blame them for just ignoring it. When I was little, going to the library was a kind of special thing. We had to be on our best behavior. We had to use our whisper voice. If we misbehaved, or we were loud, our mom would take us out to the car. No pandering, or bribery, or letting it play out. This wasn't just my mom. They taught us in schools that libraries were quiet places. Sometime between 1985 and today, parents, and I guess teachers, stopped abiding by these human expectations of a library. Kids running around unsupervised, loud as hell, cry and scream, and parents are just like, oh well, kids make noise. I agree. Kids make noise. Kids are rambunctious. But if no attempts are made to stop them from being obnoxious in settings where the opposite is expected, then we end up with libraries and restaurants and theaters overrun by discourteous people. It's just discourteous people at this point. Children are their own people, but they semi-reflect their parents at some point, or the lack of parenting. Yeah, not anymore. Libraries around here have shifted from being silent places to read and study. to being family focused event centers that are bright, are incredibly loud, and echo a ton. So few libraries in the system I'm in are quiet spaces, but a few have quiet areas. Your local university? No, it's the citywide system. Edit, realized what you probably meant. And yes, the local colleges and universities are a lot quieter, but they are largely restricted to students. I graduated from a state college back in 2014. Do they now require it or something for access? I know you might need it for internet, but to just walk in, is that how they're doing things now? My university does require it, plus a 1-hour drive, in light traffic. 3+ when busy, so university and college libraries can generally be considered local. My local library is overrun by homeless people. A little girl got molested by a bum there recently. What? WTF? That is fucking terrible. Such is life in California. Yeah. California is getting intense, with the homeless population. But it closes so early. I miss college, where the library was open 24/7. In big cities, the homeless use the libraries. After working in a public library in a city with a large homeless population, I feel like I've seen too much. Washing things in the sink, hair, clothes, body parts, men walking into the women's bathroom and using it with no care, legal phone calls in a bathroom stall, arguing about custody, watching pronoun on their phones and or public computers with the volume up, following staff around and trying to walk into the stacks and staff only areas, asking librarians for money constantly, like we make a lot of money anyway, grabbing DVDs and making a run for the doors. If I was a patron I would not want to hang out at the city library. You might enjoy, or at least get something out of, this episode of This American Life. It's all about libraries. Link. thisamericanlife.org/664/ The Room of Requirement. I went to one to drop off my passport application, because all the post offices within 50 miles of me were booked. It was so clean and so quiet. I stayed there for an hour afterwards. I keep forgetting about libraries. They're way better than coffee shops. Imo. Coffee is too expensive anyways. It's so much more cost efficient to make it at home. I went to the library recently to read one evening, while I was waiting to pick my boyfriend up from a class. Library was mostly empty and peaceful for about 20 minutes before a couple came in and passed about 4 different sections of empty seating to sit directly across from me and the chairs facing my couch. No idea why they chose to sit so close to me, but they kept loud whispering to each other and watching videos on their phones until it was time for me to go. Didn't get much reading done. I was pretty annoyed. I hope you don't encounter more people like that. I hate that type of people. Headphones were made for a reason, you know. They destroyed ours last month, so no library for me. Thanks internet. Destroyed. What? For condominiums. Sadly libraries are losing funding all over the world because people don't use them enough. That is terrible. I guess people are just relying on the internet these days. Let's hope and EMP never finds its way to our areas. Horrible thread. Hahaha. Thanks for the tip, mate. I like library too. Also, what kind of library that is loud and they can get away with it? Right, I didn't realize other libraries were such shit. Apparently everybody else's library gets away with it. I've seen a few libraries with TVs and PlayStations in them to keep the kids occupied. Blows my mind. Thankfully most other libraries I've been to have kept the noise down. Also sucks when they're attached to a community center, so the library is quiet, but the rest of the building is so loud you can't escape the noise. See, I have a library with 2 separate wings. One wing is the children's/teen section. The other is the adult section. They are split by the entrance hall, which gives enough room to separate the sound. Lol, literally the same as mine. Teens and kids are on the other building, while the adult ones are on another building, about 10 feet apart. Although the kids ones are very loud, as expected, haha. You can also find co-working spaces, although they usually cost some amount of money for a membership, and sometimes other coffee shops that are designed to be mostly quiet. Rippers. Starbucks set up shop right across the street and put them out of business. Co-working spaces, never heard of that. There are some coffee shops, but I found that my local library, the most I hear are pages turning and keyboards clicking. That sucks about Starbucks though. Their coffee is shite anyways. Every time I've had their Pike Place roast it tastes more burnt than Bloomberg in the Nevada debates. Co-working spaces are awesome. As a freelancer who lives overseas, daily rates range anywhere from $6 to $15, while monthly it can go from $100 to $200, depending on whether you get a hot desk or dedicated desk. That is pretty dope. What is the difference between a hot desk and dedicated desk? What is the difference between a hot desk and dedicated desk? It varies depending on the co-working space, but it's usually that a dedicated desk means that desk X is assigned to you and no one else uses it. Hot desks are free for all / first come first served. Sometimes the hot desks are in a separate area or smaller. It depends on the co-working space. It depends. One time I went to study, I know, right, and several teens were being as loud as they could be, giving each other crap, and generally being a nuisance. It took 30 minutes for the librarians to kick them out. I would recommend going during school hours. The library next to me shares a building with the elementary school. It's closed until around 4:30 and all the kids are out. Otherwise it's a 20-minute drive to the next one. Thought it was a stupid idea then. And now, especially when there used to be a separate library that was open during the day, that is a stupid idea. It really is. And to top it off it's half the size of the old one. Even dumber. A mausoleum likely more quiet and peaceful. Try there. Good point. Free entry right. Only if you're alive. Interesting perspective. Hotels can work too. Just ask the desk if you can sit in the lobby to work on things. If you ask nicely 9 times out of 10 they'll say it's okay. Plus, you get free coffee too. Win-win. Damn. Og here. Nice tip. I work in hotels and sometimes we'll have schools book meeting rooms for SAT prep. And every now and then we'll see those same kids from the course come back and ask to study in the lobby. I've never turned one down. That's awesome. This is a real LPT. The music at Starbucks can be annoying. It really is. It's also batshit crazy that they decided to revamp their interior furniture with seats that encourage you to leave. No more big comfy chairs. They just want people out. SMH. My city just had a brand new central library built. It won all types of award for architecture for state-of-the-art design or something. Anyways it's huge. There is a giant playground on the 2nd floor. The acoustic dampening is amazing. There were about 45 young kids having a blast, and when you walk away about 30 feet you can't hear a single thing from the playground. So yeah, there are some library are great for this. About 12 years ago I would reserve a study room and study for my CPA exam there. Now I regularly take my kids there for new books and I use their electronic services regularly for myself. I owe a lot to public libraries. They're awesome and everyone should support them. And if you haven't been in years, go in there, talk to a librarian about your interests, and see what they can help you discover. I can safely say I love most libraries I have been to. This thread though has made me realize otherwise though. I'm glad your family has a pleasant time. That is how they are meant to be used. I love my library. Free Wi-Fi, free bathrooms, comfy chairs. I used to go there a lot when I was looking for jobs for a change of scenery. Thank you. You have a good library then. This thread made me realize other libraries are apparently crap. Mine is amazing. Except for one worker who has the need to shout inside a library. Yeah, it's sad. My library gets a lot of funding I guess, and has really digitalized. Yeah, this definitely isn't true in my area. You haven't been to my library then. Your librarians must carry brass knuckles. At my local library it's like a 5-year-old's birthday party. Every day bro. Question mark? Don't go to the library every day, so I don't know the answer to that. The times that I've gone, I thought that the place was pretty chaotic. The great thing now is that I can borrow books electronically and read them on Kindle, so I still love the library. That's cool. Have you ever used a free electronic library? Link. This is where I get most books now. I know they designed it so kids are on one side and study cubicles are on the other, but it still carries. Only actually quiet libraries are uni ones. You haven't been to libraries in the Sacramento area then? Yeah. I never had a hard time finding a quiet spot in the main library. The South Sac one wasn't too bad either as I recall. I'm near El Dorado Hill / Auburn. Always blessed here. Some homeless, but not many. But this definitely isn't a city library. Haha, not my library. It's in a busy part of a big city, but I'm sure this applies in the burbs. Used to love going to my library when I lived with my parents. It smelled like books and safety. Safety is the best smell. Going through the comments is making me appreciate my library so much more. The kids section is on a separate floor from the rest of the library, so it's generally quiet. Second floor is a boss move on your library's part. Oh, that's sad. I'm sorry to hear about libraries closing. My daughter got her library card last year and absolutely loves it. Hey, thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe.